You can guess how many kisses are in this jar and how many green M&Ms are in that jar.
Hi, Megan.
How are you?
Okay, anyways, thank you all for being here and taking some time out. I'm really excited and humbled to be up here. I've been here for like 2.5 years and I've never actually done a presentation. Don't really have a good excuse as to why, it just hasn't happened. But I'm very grateful for PRG. All of you have played a huge role in my growth as an athlete, coach, and hopefully now future teacher as well in this field. So thank you all for being here again. We're going to start with a little visualization exercise. So if you're comfortable, I'd like everyone to close their eyes. Okay? Megan, you can finish that and then close your eyes. Okay, I want you to think about whatever it is in 2024, because I know you're all runners and have already thought about this, that you are starting to prepare for, whether that's a spring race, a fall race, if it's a 100-miler, marathon, 5K, 10K, whatever it is. I want you to picture that, okay? More importantly, I want you to picture the ending of the race and finishing it, okay? Look around. Who's there? Who are you running with? Are you looking at the time on the clock? Do you feel? Okay? Now, I want you to think about, am I visualizing something to do with performance right now? Am I thinking about trying to run faster, trying to maybe feel stronger? Or am I visualizing something that has maybe to do with staying healthy so I can just have fun? Okay? You can open your eyes. Who in here raised their hands for something to do with performance? Maybe a number on the clock, 5K, PR, whatever it is. Who just wants to have fun and stay away from injuries? You can have both. Okay? My point here is that we're all in this together, okay? Whether it's to have fun, if it's chasing a number, whatever it is, okay? Every single one of you in this room can benefit in some way, okay? And the feeling that you get at the end of the season is all dependent on what you do and start doing now, specifically in the next 3 months. So when we talk about the stages of running, now I set this up as a pyramid, and I actually learned this from a recent book I read. Thank you. We start with the taper and race. We're going to work backwards here, okay? So we're going to think about where we just were in our minds, okay? That race that we just finished, okay? That's 1 day. Tapers maybe 2 weeks. As we work backwards, our specific training, whatever it is that you're training for, if that's the ultra world, if that's a marathon, 5K, whatever it is, your specific race training, maybe 4, 6, 7 weeks, right? Support training, getting in shape for that specific training, okay? Again, 4, 6 weeks, all right? Max, we're looking at 15-ish weeks, all right? Everything before that is the base, okay? It's not just 6 weeks. It's not just 8 weeks. It's a long period of time, okay? Sometimes, like right now, it can be months, all right? Now, as runners, doesn't really matter what your goal is, like I was saying, okay? We all love running. We do it all the time. Getting our runs in is never the issue for every single person in this room. I know you all fairly well, okay? Getting your runs, it's never the issue, okay? Running more is never the issue. Running further is never the issue, okay? You're going to do that. The difference is, how do we get to the start line feeling as strong as possible and ready to perform as much as possible, okay? I have a very good story I wanted to share, actually, and Jake Lyons in this room, and I'm going to use him as an example because I know he won't care. Jake came to me 2 years ago, and it was about October, November time, and he said, dude, I've never trained through the winter. I don't know what to do. I don't have a clue. And this is someone who had just been running for 8 months prior, right? He's like, I want you to help me, and I want to go into spring feeling as confident as possible. And I was like, sweet, let's do it. And Jake stuck to a great plan, okay? And come springtime, not only was he able to do all of these long runs in training, I think he was training for grandmas at the time, he was able to set a bunch of wicked PRs, right? And everyone was asking him, what's the secret? Like, what are you doing differently? And he said, I just stuck to the plan all winter. I built a solid base, and I was ready to go, okay? So why am I telling you to close your eyes? Who am I? If you don't know, my name is Jacob, okay? My absolute mission in life is I want to build a spot for all endurance athletes to not only feel comfortable and feel like they fit in, but I want them to have a space in which they can find and discover what it is that they are potentially running from, okay, that why, that I'm sure you've all heard me talk about multiple times, right? And switch that narrative so that they can start running towards something, okay? The endurance world is powerful. It can become very addictive, okay, just like anything else. Helping athletes discover why they're here in the first place is something I'm extremely passionate about for numerous reasons, okay? As far as credentials go, I went to college. I have a few different certs, okay, from the National Academy of Sports Medicine. Gait analysis is something I'm very passionate about and certified in. I also coach at Highland Park and have my background in high school coaching as well, okay? I'm an ambassador for Grandmas as well as Bigger Than the Trail, hopefully for GCM as well soon, okay? Really just trying to beef up the Minnesota community, okay? At the end of the day, my biggest thing, like I said, is why and building community. And I'm sure you already all know that. Okay, so this winter, there are 5 different things that this presentation is going to go into, okay? And 5 different ways I want you to think about the way you're building this winter, AKA your base, okay? First one, reflection. Second, we're gonna go into recovery and the different tactics you can be using as a runner to recover better and smarter so that you can handle more come springtime, okay? Number 3, the weight room, specifically what we can be doing in the weight room right now, as well as a little bit, that you can take away for the rest of the year as well, okay? And then we're gonna go over running lastly, okay? Again, you are all so good at running. You're in PRG, okay? You're here for a reason. You're all very good at running. That's never gonna be the issue. However, I can give you some tips that you can think about that might help you become a better runner and practice running more effectively or economically outside, okay? And then lastly, we're gonna go over some winter safety tips that I'm gonna put my coach in, nice hat on and tell you how to not slip and fall, because I've had a lot of clients that have slipped and fallen, and it can destroy not just one season, but multiple seasons in a row, okay? So reflection first. Now, this is what I have found to be one of the most uncomfortable spots for runners to be in during the winter right now, okay? I just entered this myself. I hate it. I'm not running. Like today was my first day back lifting. It's so uncomfortable, y'all. Not doing what I really love to do, okay? This is also one of the most powerful spots to be in, okay? Before you start, all right, whether you take a week, a couple days, whatever it is, I want you to take a mental break, okay, and really reflect on how 2023 went for you, okay? I'm pretty sure everyone in here, for the most part, had fairly successful seasons, okay, if I remember correctly, all right? Dive into that first, like what went well, all right? Don't just start thinking about, oh, I ran X in this 5K, and now I want to run this time, okay? Sit in that first. Enjoy that, okay? You worked hard for that. Enjoy whatever it was that you did, okay? Number 2, did you have fun, all right? I have a lot of clients, or I've worked with clients in the past, I should say, that we get to the end of the season and they don't even, they didn't even find that much enjoyment in what they did, okay? Really ask yourself, was what I was doing fun? Did I like it? Or was it maybe the tool I was using to run away from things, okay? Number 3, who is in your community? Shocker, community, okay? Again, I'm huge on this, all right? PRG's dope, all right? There's other communities out there. Gear Running, Mill City, okay? Theo has different stuff going on all the time. Hop on Facebook pages, okay? There's a quote I'll share later that talks about going only so far by yourself, all right? That's true even in the recreational world. Go have fun. And if you're someone that likes to be independent and you really hate the community thing, honestly, I got nothing for you. So number 4, were you prepared, okay? Think back to the beginning of the year. Did you set yourself up for success, right? Did you reflect on 2022? Did you build that solid base? Did you know how to build that solid base, right? Did you put yourself out there and come to these types of things and try to learn more so you could potentially get better in whatever way it is for you? And then go into the improvement part. What am I going to do this year differently? Is that recovery? Is that my nutrition? Is that hydration? Am I going to run a little bit more mileage? Am I going to run more intensity? Like what is that, right? Dive into that, okay? This is a great thing to do. Answer each one of these questions on a piece of paper or on your phone. That's cool too, whatever you want to do, okay? Like I said, it can be very, very uncomfortable. Push yourselves to that uncomfortable, right? Oh, I forgot to mention too, if you guys have questions, feel free to jump in. I like to make it as interactive as possible. So. Okay.
These slides back earlier, you had bear. Was that bear daddy, or was he? Bear. Or was he searching for the look in the future?
He is stabbing.
Yeah. I'm really glad you pointed that out. Actually, I was a little worried that not a lot of people were going to notice that. Right. That's a dab. Oh, actually, no. He's looking, or she, or they. They're looking not at this. I don't know what that is. No. Good question, though. Good question. That might come up later for some element, actually. Fun fact. You're already picking up on the Easter eggs. All right, once you reflect. Are you guys confused about the dab? You know what that is? That's fair. That's fair. We'll get to that in a second. That's good. So am I. Okay, number 2, recovery. All right, I had a mentor once. I went up to him. I had something going on with my knee. It's like 2 years ago, and I was like, yeah, my knee hurts. I've been running a lot. I think I'm just overtrained. And this is a very smart mentor, and he is very blunt. And when I say things like that, he'll usually put me in my place and say, that's a terrible answer. What does that even mean, right? And we had this conversation about the difference between overtraining and being under-recovered, okay? I put up here, is overtraining even possible? We throw that term around all the time, okay? I'm not saying it's not possible. What I am saying is that it's not possible to overtrain and be recovered at the same time, okay? If you overtrain and something happens, it is very much due to your recovery, okay? Usually, it's not necessarily because you're running too much or you're lifting incorrectly, things like that, okay? It usually has to do with your recovery, all right? Now, as runners, I'm sure you're all familiar with the term cortisol, okay? It's your fight or flight hormone, all right? When we run, and especially throughout the season as we run more and more and more, that cortisol just gets spiked. It's released more and more and more, okay? The good example is olden days. I'm sure you've heard it, running from a lion, right? It's good. You need to release that, right? It's our stress hormone, all right? The problem is that when it's spiked, it messes with our recovery. If it's too high, your recovery gets harder to do, okay? That is where there's a lot of different things that come into play here, okay? Number 1, nutrition. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, okay? There are people that go to school and, are certified to talk about this subject. I'm not super certified to talk about this subject, and I don't, quite frankly, feel super comfortable talking about or giving diet tips, okay? Daniel Barron actually once told me, you probably know what to do, okay? However, I am comfortable with pointing out that, yes, alcohol is poison, okay, period. There is really no ifs, ands, or buts about that, all right? Look up any research article, okay? Dr. Andrew Huberman, who you may or may not like, it's not really important right now, but he has a podcast episode on this, and it drastically changed my whole view, okay, on alcohol. I'm not sober, all right? I had 3 drinks this weekend, actually, okay? I'm not perfect, all right? This is not me telling you not to drink alcohol, all right? It's me telling you that when you do, you need to understand that it is a poison, and everything else on this list gets impacted by it, okay? Number 4. Everything in moderation. Yep. So it comes down to when you do it, just understand why, right? Why are we doing this? Number 4, hydration. Okay, this is a huge one. Luckily, we all pee. Okay, every morning you can check how hydrated you are. Okay, super yellow, super clear. You don't want either of those. Okay, tint of yellow. All right, we've been told this for a long time. All right, not only that, But especially as training starts to ramp up, you sweat more, okay? As it starts getting hotter, make sure you are taking electrolytes in, okay? This is something that like 10, 15 years ago, I personally didn't even know anything about, okay? And now you don't see anyone that's not at least popping like a Nuun tab, all right? Obviously, I'm plugging Element tonight, and that's why I brought these to give away, okay? But electrolytes, they're extremely important. I had a friend, it was our 4th marathon, that we were under the impression like, oh, if we train without any electrolytes or gels or anything for running, okay, we can get our bodies more resilient and then go run without those and do the marathon, right? That was a huge, huge humbling moment, okay? Luckily, I just ended up walking a lot, okay? My friend, I've never seen anything like this. He literally could not open his hands, okay? Because his nerves were so messed up after that marathon, okay? It is dangerous, all right? And then he was puking a lot too and other things. But the nerve thing is the scariest part, okay? Electrolytes, they help with balance between cells, okay, and the rest of our nutrients, all right? Not only that, they help nerves fire. Nerves lead to muscles firing, right? Train with them. It will make you better in whatever you're trying to become better at, okay? Lastly, sleep. I looked at a few different studies and wanted to kind of just double check if 7 to 9 is still the range, and it is. But like everything's saying for like the average person, once again, no one in here is average. Okay, if you are here, you need more than 7 hours. Okay, so we're all different. Okay, 8 to 9 at least. If you can get 9, sweet. There's also a thing is too much. All right, and more specifically, something that I have found that's helped athletes a lot that I have worked with is going to bed and waking up at the same time as possible, as being as consistent with that as possible, okay? Especially as we are getting closer throughout the season to whatever race you're trying to do, mimicking that schedule, setting that schedule up now, okay? So that later on, I have no idea. Okay? So you'll notice though that although I'm sitting on a foam roller in this picture, I'm not talking about foam rollers. I'm not talking about Theraguns. I'm not talking about the massage boots, anything like that, okay? They can be very beneficial, all right? Quite frankly, they don't matter unless this stuff is in check, okay? Now is the time to set up the recovery routine so that when miles go up, when our intensity goes up, we're already ready for it and we already have the routine established now, okay? When we did that visualization exercise at the beginning, okay, if you think about the person that you are going to become and what you hope they are doing, I guarantee you, you're hoping all of these things are in check, okay? Work on that now while you can and while everything's down. You know, that's a great question. I'm not going to give you a very good answer to that. I'm going to try to do my best. I have yet to see someone overdo electrolytes. I've been told you can overdo electrolytes. Again, I would go back to the P. If it's, dark yellow, then you're probably overdoing it. I would be shocked if any of you overdid it. Right. Or if your mouth gets super dry, things like that. But in terms of like, the story that I shared with my friend who couldn't open his hands, that's probably not going to happen. But I could be wrong, and that's a little bit outside of my realm. All right, number 3, the weight room. All right, getting into the good stuff, probably why you're here, okay? This is also one of my favorite topics, is the weight room. It's kind of where I came from, my background, okay? Now, this is going to get a little tricky, and obviously I'm a personal trainer for a reason, right? You all have very specific needs now, okay? So when you're in the weight room, make sure you're being smart. Make sure you do research. Make sure you ask questions, okay? I'm just giving advice. Don't take anything extremely wholeheartedly, okay? First, if you do not have the movement patterns down, okay? They're listed here: push, pull, squat, bend, hinge, twist, and gait, okay? If you don't have those movement patterns down, start there. Don't go into the weight room and start lifting heavy weights if you can't do these movement patterns, okay? And that's a conversation for another time. okay? If you do have those down, all right, progress then to 12, 15 rep ranges, okay? And start working on weights and specifically teaching your muscles how to recruit muscle fibers, all right, so that you can lift heavier, all right? Now, assuming everyone has that down, what is going to help you the most right now in the next 2-3 months, maybe 4, depending on the winter and how long it lasts here, okay, is working specifically on heavy and explosive movements and building as much strength as possible, okay? Think about all of the mileage that goes up throughout the year, all right? It becomes a lot harder to build muscle. Not saying you can't do it, but it becomes a lot harder to build that muscle as miles go up, all right? Especially if we're running long runs, which all of you probably are, okay? It is very catabolic on the body. That means muscle breakdown, okay? What we do now, when miles are down, creates a base so that later on, we can kind of dig into that reserve, okay? So in the weight room, this is what I'm recommending, all right? At least 2 times a week, at least, okay? And if you say you can't do that, cut a run out, all right? If you can get 3 times a week, do that, but depending on where you're at, you might just be too sore and it might not be effective, okay? So at least 2 to 3 times a week, okay? Number 2, and this is one that, again, like 10 years ago, I would have probably told you something different, all right? I had my high school cross country coach tell me never to hit my legs with weights, okay? And that was like 10 years ago, okay? This is what I recommend. For every upper body exercise you do, I want at least 2 leg exercises, okay? And you can kind of wrap that with just a compound exercise that also focuses on core. What I mean by that, squats, deadlift, lunges, step-ups, Bulgarians, things like that, okay? And then you can throw in, if you want to do like biceps, triceps, different stuff like that, go ahead. If you want to do fancy cable things, you know, that you, I'm sure, have seen me doing in the gym, go ahead and do that stuff. But at the end of the day, that's what's going to give you the most bang for your buck and get your legs the most ready later on this season, okay? As far as sets and reps go, 4 to 5 sets, 8 reps or less, okay? Now, these reps should be hard. It should be very hard to get to 8 reps, okay? It should be so hard, and this is going to be a struggle for all of you, that you should be resting for at least 90 seconds, all right? Textbooks, Google, whatever you want to look up is going to say longer than that when you're in a strength range, and strength range is actually technically 4 to 6, okay? And I'm trying to reason with all of you a little bit, okay? At least 90 seconds. If you can do an exercise and go back to that exercise, you're basically wasting time on that rep range, okay? You need to push yourselves, all right? Think about any hard race you've done, all right? Start practicing lifting heavier, all right? Don't be afraid of that. And if you are afraid of that, that goes back to probably the patterns and starting there and making sure you know what you're doing, okay? And then I always tell people, you see people in the gym that are in there for more than 60 minutes. That's not a problem necessarily, but just make sure, you know, I recommend typically 60 minutes. If it's over that, you know, I like to hang out in the gym, so I get it. You can be social, but think about the actual time you're spending lifting, okay? It does not need to be longer than 60 minutes, okay? Again, more heavy, explosive lifts. Okay? It doesn't have to be super fancy. A jump squat is going to go a long ways, all right? A heavy barbell squat is going to go a long ways for everyone in this room that predominantly runs. Questions on the weight room? Running, what we've all been waiting for. Okay, so I heard this once and got offended by it. The only thing scarier than the marathon training is chronic marathon training, okay? I've done that many, many times where you just kind of do long runs, do high volume all the time. It's fun, it's addicting, it looks good on Strava, and I am a sucker for that, right? All right, I've been there, it's a good time. Now, this kind of goes back though to, remember, if you're just trying to have fun, hell yeah, like go for it, right? That's cool. You will probably get injured eventually though too, so keep that in mind, okay? Now, in terms of the actual run stuff though, okay? Don't start where you started, or don't start where you ended, okay? What do I mean by that? Usually, you peak at a total amount of miles or volume or hours on your feet during the year. You might have 2 peaks depending on what's going on, okay? For an example, if you peak at like 40 miles a week, right? And then you go into a race in October and then you chill. A lot of times we want to go right back to where we peaked, right? Right back to that 40 miles, okay? I highly recommend think about it as a full year. Think about where you started, or 6 months. Think about where you started. Go back to that and up that and build from there, okay? A lot of elite athletes, all right, they have years of doing this. They don't just pick right back up at 100 miles a week, right? If you look at, I follow like Joe Klecker on Strava, okay? My man's will start very low and build back up and do, months, a couple months to get back to 100, okay? So be smart with that, okay? Number 2, frequency and intensity should both be up, all right? That does not mean I'm telling you to go do a bunch of VO2 max, bunch of tempo, a bunch of, hills over at Theo. That's not what I'm necessarily saying, okay? What I'm saying is that similarly to the weight room, I want you to be going a little bit more intense, and I'll get to that in a second for examples, okay? Sprints, things like that. And when you do that, you'll be forced, just like the weight room, to take more time in between each rep, okay? As you get used to that, the frequency that you're doing these things, okay, can be up to 3, 4, 5 times a week, all right? You can take a day off in between. You can sometimes do 2 days in a row, all right? 80-20 rule, I'm sure you're all familiar with it, but I love to beat this one on the head, okay? I forget his name. Matt Troy, I think is his name. A guy I follow on Instagram. He's one person, right? Nick Berry is another one that I look up to and follow a lot as well, okay? Big time marathoners, all right? Both are under 3, all right? Nick Berry is running miles above 8. Matt Troy is running miles above 9, okay? All the time, all right? I get it. It's really hard to do that, all right? The more you practice that now and get used to running very slow, low heart rate, okay? Can you sing? Can you have a conversation with your community? Things like that, okay? Building your engine size, that's 80, all right? The other 20, give or take, it can be 15, it can be 10, it can be 25, just in that ballpark, okay? That's your intensity, all right? Again, just remember that, okay? As far as the intensity workouts that I want you to be working on, sprint drills should be at the top of your list, okay? I just shared this somewhere the other day, I forget where. Explosive pogo hops, explosive step ups, splitter jump lunges, all those things, they're awesome. They look cool, again, they're flashy, all right? They can be very beneficial. I'm not saying they're not beneficial, all right? But the most dynamic strength exercise for runners is running as fast as you can, whatever that means for you, okay? Don't think about this as endurance, all right? Don't think about strides, hills, wickets, go over what they are in a sec, as endurance. Think about them as building strength and power, okay? You can almost fit into the same bucket as weightlifting. Obviously, it's not the same thing, but you get my point, okay? Save your endurance for 80, all right? Save your endurance work for your tempos and VO2 stuff and your different things later on, okay? Right now, focus on strength. Last week, we went to the track, a few clients of mine and myself, and in total, they did 1.5 miles of work, and we were there for 40 minutes. Half of that was walking. And I got texts the next few days saying how effed up they were and how sore they were, which is actually not a good thing. But my point is that they worked super hard for that 0.7 mile of work that we did, all right? Lots of speed work, okay? Long rest, high speed work, okay? As far as what strides, wickets, and hills are, okay? Strides, I love this little graph from Strength Running. I think his name's Jason Fitzgerald, if I remember correctly, okay? You can fit these in at the end of workouts. You can fit these in the middle of your runs, okay? You're building up, first 10 seconds, nice and slow. Middle 10 seconds, keep put mile pace, start there. As you get more used to this, you can break that down to a full sprint, and then you're cooling down. Okay, 10 seconds up, 10 seconds, 10 seconds down. Okay? Wickets. These are probably my favorite speed development drill. All right. They're not super accessible to everyone. I get that. Okay. You don't actually need hurdles either, but it's an amazing drill. All right. I know Aaron won't mind me sharing this, but we've been working a lot on his stride specifically. And I brought him, he was on the people that came to the track last week, and he couldn't get through the entire set of hurdles. Because the power and strength, it was something he had never done. Okay. So wickets, what are they? About 10, 15 hurdles, little mini ones. You set them up. Okay. First 4 about 4 feet, second 4 about 4.5, last 4-ish, 5. Okay. If you want to do more, you can. Similar to the stride, you're building up so that when you hit the hurdles, you're at full effort. You're taking one step in between each hurdle, right? It's very good for working on specifically your pull mechanics, which I'm sure you've all heard me talk about, okay? The back portion of the run pattern, okay? And creating power off one leg, right? Again, it's strength, it's power, it's that durability, okay? It's the fast twitch you need at the end of your race, all right? As your heart rate drifts super high, okay? Highly recommend those. Hills, you can mix them in. You can do straight up hill sprints, 20, 30 seconds if you want. I would recommend starting at like 10 seconds, okay? You can do a stride effort like that. Don't mix wickets with hills. It's a terrible idea, okay? But those are really, really good for teaching glute engagement specifically. Again, power and pulling, all right? Again, none of those are very flashy. Quite frankly, none of them are even like all that fun if you do them alone. If you do them with people, they're always fun, okay? I've worked with a lot of people now that I've had to do this, okay? My coach, I was just talking to him on Sunday about this. He's a 217 marathoner. His clients doing stuff like that right now. This is growing, all right? Pick up on it now. In 10, 15, 20 years, it's gonna be like strength training your legs 10, 15 years ago was, okay? Right now is the time to work on full speed, max effort, all right? Having that dialed in not only will make performance go up, but it's gonna teach you and your body, mentally and physically, it's going to give you the adaptations that you need so that you are aware of how to get into your full stride, all right, whatever that means for you. So later on the season, when you're just doing shorter stride stuff, lots of steps like that, and all of a sudden you're running and have to take a, one random step up a curve or something like that, your body doesn't get shocked and you get injured 4 weeks later from that, okay? You're prepared for that type of thing. Form exercises, A skips, B skips, jump rope, running through a jump rope, things like that. They're all great. All right, I have clients do them all the time. Highly recommend them. Just be careful, don't hurt yourself. Make sure you do a good warm up. Okay, they're not as effective as the sprint drills. All right, they're actually a good warm up for sprint drills. Okay, and then lastly, be careful with long runs. Marathoners and endurance ultra runners, pretty much everyone. Okay. If you look up what a long run should be, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I could talk about this for an hour, and I'm very passionate about the long run. If you look up what a long run should be, pretty much everywhere you find any book, any Google site, anything is going to say 15 to 25% of your total weekly volume. Okay? If you are running for 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever, oh, great, now I have to embarrass myself by doing math. Okay? You get the point? It's not that much, right? Okay? As you go on throughout the season, you kind of don't have a choice but to break that rule. All right, depending on what your goals are. Okay. Right now, you can be careful with that. Okay. If you're someone who's training for your first marathon or your first ultra, it's a little different. Okay. Right now, for the majority of everyone in this room, though, just be careful with the long run. Okay. They should be down. Try to follow the 15 to 25% rule. Focus more on the speed. Okay? Again, if you're running a marathon like Houston next month, you're an outlier. Okay? Yes.
It was probably for everyone, but in general, like we talk about the chronic marathon training, start thinking about next year and shorter season. I'll say in Minnesota, maybe want to do like a race in the summer, race in the fall. What's like a guidance for how long you should have in between have done on 8 weeks, 3 months?
Like between the two races, or
Yeah.
between starting the next training block, between like a spring race and. So if you're doing like say grandma's in the spring and then you're training for like Superior 50 or something like that, the amount of time between that, it's going to be very dependent on the person. Aaron, I've seen him take a day off. Daniel, he's another good example. Sorry, I hope you don't mind me using him. I've seen him take 2 days off and just get right back to it. Personally, I'll take a week off for sure from running. If it's your first marathon, the whole X amount of days off of whatever the distance is, that's probably a smart move. How was the base building? Did you build a good amount of muscle? Like, for sure, like your body best, right? So you're gonna know if something's off or not, right? A good rule of thumb, I like to follow 2 weeks, more so if it's the end of the season, 2 weeks specifically, more so for mental reasons for the second week, at least. If it's in the middle of the season, that's when you're kind of having that conversation of like, what's important, right? If you go hard enough at that first A race, you might need 2 weeks off. You might need more than that, right? Good question. Any others? This was going to be a lot funnier when Aaron was here, but he's sick, so now it's a lot less funny. Okay, I love PRG though. Clearly, I own my own fitness company as well. Okay, a good example of this, I spent like a year trying to learn about stocks and investing and the market and different stuff like that in that realm, only to come to the realization that I was making no money. Okay. And I was investing, right? It wasn't my craft. I didn't really care about it, okay? There are a lot of people that spend a lot of hours learning, and they might not even be a coach, okay? They might just be a mentor, all right? Or they might be a, friend, whatever it is. My point is, at least ask for help. Ask different people, use your resources, okay? As far as PRG goes, strength training, gait analysis, group runs, acupuncture for recovery, massage for recovery. There are so many things here. It's such a blessed and cool space. Shout out to Mark Johnson for that. Okay, utilize it. All right, tips for safety in the winter. Kind of went back and forth on a lot of these. I have seen, I think 3 athletes now take pretty nasty spills on the ice. Like I said in the beginning, one destroyed their rotator cuff and they are now just coaching with me again. It's been literally 2 years. Okay. Another actually also destroyed their rotator cuff and they ended up taking like 6-7 months off and then unfortunately fell again actually, but that was a different situation. My point is that the ice is freaking ruthless. All right. Wear spikes on your shoes. Okay, just be smart. Ice Bugs, Yak Trax, Due North. $200 on Ice Bugs, even though they look a little goofy. Okay, no one's looking at your shoes. $200 is a lot better than not running for a month or 2. Okay. Proper clothing, number 2. Come to Gear Running or Mill City. I'm gonna plug Gear though because I work there. Mill City's obviously kick ass though too. Specifically neckwear and breathing and goggles. Okay, start doing that. That's game changing. Goggles you don't need to wear if it's if your eyelids aren't frozen shut, right? But if it gets really cold, just put on goggles or just come run on a treadmill. Okay. This one's a tough one. I looked up a bunch of different articles on this and ended up citing like 3-4 sources. And I was like, all right, do your research on this. Okay, I kind of go by 0 degrees, but then wind chill's a thing, and I found -20 is kind of like the don't go outside. There's research that says 15 to 14 degrees outside, just regular Fahrenheit, can cause lung damage. All right, breathing in very cold air is not good, especially if you're doing intensity and things like that. Okay, it's not good. Okay, so just avoid very cold running if possible. Group running, at very least, bring your phone. All right, this is not even like a community thing. This is the safety side of things here, okay? Don't go running in the winter, especially when it's dark out, and roll your ankle and be all sweaty and 2 miles from your place, all right? Don't be in that situation, okay? Bring your phone, run with friends. Hopefully they bring a phone. You get the point, all right? And then lastly, skip the run. Again, running is never going to be a problem for all of you. You will get it in. Skipping a run because it's too cold or because it blizzard, or there was a blizzard, you know, and you don't want to drive to PRG because you don't want to, you know, fall in the ditch, things like that. Just be smart, okay? I get it. I want to run all the time too, okay? Yeah.
Light up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
That too.
yeah.
A lot of people don't light up.
On bikes, they don't light up.
That too.
I can attest to the Sub-Zero temps. You have to run a Sub-Zero temp, put a piece of, call them face masks, or back when I was doing it, we had a knitted gator, whatever. Now they have, but yeah, no, I've done some damage from skating.
Yep.
Yep, that was back in the 30s. What's in the 80s? Okay. 70s and 80s. I'm not old.
So at the end of the day, though, I always like to beat this on the head. Do whatever you want. Have fun, okay? Like, I'm gonna stand up here and give you a lot of advice on what you could do to stay healthy and you know, perform better. If you're not having fun, then don't listen to me, okay? Right? This should be fun. We are all recreational athletes having fun, all right? And Luana was at my CAM talk. We get to do this. I love that saying. Okay? Remember that. Very, very lucky. Okay? Thank you. Questions, comments, concerns, desires, wants, needs? Anything? My phone number is listed. My website's there. I'm most active on Instagram and Strava. I'm trying to become Strava famous. So if you could all help me with that, I want to be the first influencer on Strava. So, and I just introduced DMs and stories are coming. Mark my word. Anyways.
So what do you say work out 3 times with heavy weights? I mean, do you do like squats 3 times a week? Is that okay? Or do you want to do squats and do something else?
Yeah, good question. So typically I'll follow something that's symmetrical, like a squat, like a hinge, something on 2 legs that you're not really moving much, right? And then the other day of the week, I'll do something that is more lunge focused, that follows more specifically that run pattern, okay? And in addition to that, this isn't me saying that you shouldn't ever do like banded lateral walking or, you know, mobility work. You for sure should be doing that as well, okay? It's more about working those heavy things more, right? Do we have winners? Wait, actually first. So I hid an Easter egg in pretty much all of these slides. It's on this one. If you can guess what it is, you get an element. And then we're going to announce the 2 winners from that too. Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay, they both guessed at the same time. Luckily, I brought 4.
I have element. I will hand off element.
Don't get one there. You both get one. Who and then who won the?
He's on his.
Do you want to announce them? It was on that. So there's one eating a fish. There's one waving right here.
Oh yeah, our eyes can't see that. We're older than you.
There's one behind. There's one behind Nick Bear.
Oh, the bears. That bear should be in.
There's Caleb.
There's no bear in that one.
There's no one in this one. There's no one in that one. Oh, these were the serious slides. That's why. There's Wyans.
I'm so glad you used that white bear.
And then there's one that's here.
Oh, yeah, no.
Annie's a very good guesser.
Wow.
So you're in competition with Jacob, who also is very good at these. You almost won both of them, but
I can give those away. There you go.
for the M&Ms, there were 294,
Oh, I'm so far.
and you guessed 301. Very
Wow.
close. And then for this one, I thought you were gonna win kisses. You guessed 120, and there's 123, but then Todd came in with 122. Very
I have no sense. I literally have.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Hopefully you learned something.
I thought East Riders Daily.
Surprise.